Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today, we're really getting into it. We're not just talking about modern dating frustration.
No, not at all.
We are doing a deep analysis of emotional inconsistency and what makes relationships toxic. If you've ever felt that just profound confusion of getting mixed signals, or even worse, found yourself pulled back into a cycle you swore you were done with,
Right.
we're going to pull back the curtain on the mechanics of that emotional chaos.
Yeah, and we've put together a really powerful stack of sources for this. We're looking at clinical breakdowns of these toxic trends, guides on setting boundaries that actually work, and, I think most importantly, a deep forensic look at the brain chemistry.
The actual biology.
The actual biology, the stuff that makes things like trauma bonding and intermittent reinforcement so incredibly sticky, so hard to escape.
So our mission for you, the listener, is pretty simple. To help you stop reacting and start recognizing. We want to give you a clear toolkit, a way to see these low-effort tactics, to understand the biological hooks that make you crave the chaos, and then how to implement real, practical boundaries.
The kind that protect your peace.
Let's get right into it. This new language of inconsistency. They have to start with the term paperclipping. This is one of those, deeply frustrating modern dating terms.
It is. And the name is perfect.
It's named after Clippy, right?
Yeah.
That annoying Microsoft paperclip from the early 2000s that would just pop up randomly when you're trying to work.
The most unhelpful helper. And it's the perfect analogy. Paperclipping is when someone, usually an ex or maybe a past date, just resurfaces out of the blue,
After being completely gone.
completely missing in action for weeks, maybe months. And the message is always so low effort. It's a, hey, what's up? Or thinking about you.
With nothing behind it.
Nothing, no substance, no real intention to actually rebuild anything.
And the sources are pretty clear that the intent here is almost always selfish. It's about maintaining contact just enough to keep you on the back burner.
Or seeking validation.
Yes. A little reassurance that they still have some power, some access to you. It lets them feel good without taking any real emotional responsibility.
Now, this is different from breadcrumbing, and it's a subtle but important distinction.
Okay, so how do we tell them apart?
Well, breadcrumbing is more about continuous flirtatious messages that just never lead anywhere. They're always busy when you suggest meeting up.
Or they cancel last minute.
Always. They throw you just enough breadcrumbs to keep you emotionally invested, to keep you hungry.
So, okay, the key difference is engagement. Paper clippers are ghosts who pop up for an ego boost, but you probably had some actual engagement with them before they vanished.
Exactly. There was a before. With breadcrumbers, there's rarely any real engagement. They might start with this intense love bombing phase to get you hooked.
And then what?
Then it just fades to these sporadic, cryptic responses, and they only reappear with that same intensity when they think they're about to lose you.
Wow. But the common thread here is the toll it takes on you.
Oh, absolutely. Both tactics, they put you in this constant state of uncertainty. It creates a cycle of false hope and then disappointment that just completely derails any healing you're trying to do.
And before we get into the really deep psychology, let's just quickly touch on a boundary issue. What if it's a genuinely non-toxic ex who reaches out? Someone things just didn't work out with.
That's a great question because that can be just as confusing.
Right.
And that's where a clear boundary is your best friend. If you want to keep your distance, the direct approach is best. They send that vague, how are you message. You just respond, I'm good. What did you contact me for?
That feels a little blunt.
It's not rude, though. It's respectful of your time. It cuts right to the chase, and it stops you from wasting emotional energy on guessing games. It also prevents them from getting that little ego boost without having a clear intention.
That clarity is what this is all about, because that emotional whiplash, whether it's from paper clipping or breadcrumbing, it leads to the big mystery. Why is it so hard to leave a toxic cycle?
And that brings us to trauma bonding.
Right.
And what's fascinating is the precise definition. Trauma bonding is not two people bonding over a shared trauma.
Okay, that's a common misconception.
It is. It's the intense attachment a person feels for their abuser. And it's because of a cycle of abuse that's mixed with positive reinforcement.
Those moments of goodness.
Those moments where the partner acts sorry or says they love you or they make up for it, that push-pull is what creates the bond.
And the sources lay out, 7 distinct stages to this?
Yes, 7 stages that show how this pattern just takes root so deeply. It usually starts with love bombing,
Of course.
then gaining trust, then criticism, which escalates pretty quickly into manipulation things like gaslighting, where your whole reality gets questioned.
But the stage that really stood out to me was resignation.
Ah, yes. That's the most insidious part. It's where the survivor's nervous system essentially gives up the fight. It's latched to what we call the fawn response.
So you start people-pleasing?
You start people-pleasing, managing the abuser's emotions, just doing anything you can in a desperate attempt to feel safe.
So your own internal defense system has collapsed, and now you're actively helping maintain the dynamic just to stop the pain.
Precisely. And that is when the biological drivers completely take over. Your brain is literally hijacked.
Okay, so let's talk about the main driver here, which is intermittent reinforcement.
Yes. Because the rewards, the kindness, the apology, are given occasionally and, crucially, unpredictably, the victim becomes conditioned to crave the highs.
Like a gambler in a slot machine.
It's the exact same principle. You become addicted to the hope of the reward, not even the reward itself.
And these rewards are delivered chemically in the brain. We're talking about oxytocin, right? The love hormone.
Exactly. It gets released during those moments of intimacy or connection, and that promotes attachment and trust, which is so powerful even when it's mixed in with betrayal.
Then you have dopamine.
And that's the big one. We know it's the neurotransmitter for addiction, and the research is clear. Dopamine flows much more readily when rewards are on an unpredictable schedule.
So that random sweet text you get after 3 days of the silent treatment.
It's not just a nice gesture, it's cementing a reward circuit in your brain. It makes the relationship feel essential for survival.
This is where it gets really wild and honestly a little terrifying. The stress hormones. Cortisol and adrenaline. They spike during all the chaos. Why would fear and pain make the bond stronger?
This is the biological paradox. When you're in a high-intensity situation like you're afraid of your partner's rage, your body is flooded with cortisol and adrenaline.
Fight or flight.
Right. But when that conflict resolves, even for a moment, the brain gets this profound sense of relief. And that relief delivers a massive pulse of dopamine.
Oh, wow.
So your brain, tragically, starts to associate the high arousal of the chaos itself with the dopamine hit that comes after.
So you're not just addicted to the good moments. You become chemically dependent on the drama itself. Your own survival chemistry is tricking you.
It is. It's confusing these high-stress cycles with survival and resolution. And that's why just seeing the pattern is the first huge step to breaking the bond.
Okay, let's pivot from understanding to action. If we know this is rooted in biology, that gives us the power to break it. We have to do the inner work.
And the first strategy is absolutely essential. Identify patterns and their roots. You have to map out your relationship history, and not just a list of exes.
The actual behaviors.
Your behaviors and theirs. Do you always attract partners who are, say, emotionally unavailable? Then you have to trace that pattern back.
Did you learn as a kid that love had to be earned or that it was supposed to be hard?
And once you see the roots, the second step is to challenge old beliefs. If you believe deep down that conflict means passion or I have to fix people to be loved, you will just keep recreating that drama. The goal is cognitive reframing. You have to shift the belief. Change it from love is supposed to complete me to something like I'm already complete and a healthy relationship is an addition to my life, not the answer.
The third strategy might be the hardest for some people.
It is. Do the inner work before jumping into another relationship. Take time for self-reflection, for therapy, for journaling. If you don't heal the old baggage, you just carry it into the new dynamic.
And finally, we have to redefine healthy love. You can't just run from the toxic stuff. You have to know what you're running toward. What does safety and consistency actually look and feel like for you?
And while you do that work, you have to be vigilant. The workbooks always highlight these non-negotiable red flags, frequent put-downs, using guilt to control you, the silent treatment.
And of course, denying your reality, the gaslighting.
See them, recognize them, and treat them like the bright red stop signs they are.
Okay, so that brings us to the practical defense system, the boundary toolkit. We know setting boundaries can feel wrong. It activates that internal attached part of our brain that wants to keep everyone happy to stay safe.
But we can simplify the process. There's a 3-step method that's designed to be calm and non-negotiable. Step 1, state the boundary. Keep it short, keep it clear, and you do not need to explain or justify it.
Your needs are valid just because they're yours.
Exactly. Step 2, state the consequences if the boundary is crossed. And they have to be realistic things you will actually do.
Like, if you yell at me, I will hang up the phone.
Or if you're more than 10 minutes late, I'm going to cancel our date. Things you can control.
And the final step, where I think everyone stumbles.
This is the hard part. Be prepared for hard feelings. That means their anger, their denial, but also your own guilt and confusion.
Let's talk about that guilt. It's so important to distinguish between appropriate guilt, where you actually did something wrong and need to fix it.
And inappropriate guilt. The latter is that feeling of distress you get when you set a healthy boundary. That feeling isn't a sign you're wrong. It's just your attachment system yelling that you've introduced conflict.
So what do you do when they push back hard against the boundary? The sources have a couple of really powerful techniques for what they call staying mindful.
Which just means keeping your focus on your goal, not their drama. The first is the broken record technique.
It sounds so simple, but it's incredibly effective. You just repeat the exact same boundary statement over and over in a calm tone.
You don't justify, you don't explain.
Why does that work so well?
Because manipulators thrive on debate and chaos. They want you to explain yourself so they have something to argue against. The second you give a reason, they have an opening.
By repeating it, you just force them to deal with the reality of your position.
It becomes non-negotiable.
And what if they just try to attack you or change the subject?
That's the second technique. Ignore. If they start with attacks, threats, emotional diversions, you ignore those efforts completely. You either return to your boundary statement or you just disengage.
If you respond to the attack, they've won.
They've taken control of the conversation. Remember, you're only responsible for setting your boundary respectfully. Their reaction is their business.
So this deep dive has really shown us that relationship toxicity isn't just about bad communication. It's about these deeply ingrained psychological and biochemical patterns.
Yeah, absolutely. We've learned to spot the low-effort digital stuff like paperclipping, and we've understood the really profound damage of trauma bonding that's reinforced by those unpredictable rewards.
And we've identified the path forward. It's about setting clear, realistic boundaries and doing that inner work to redefine what safety and respect really look like.
It's about moving away from patterns rooted in past trauma and finally embracing the quiet comfort of reliability.
So we'll leave you with this thought. If intermittent reinforcement is scientifically the most powerful method for creating addiction, how might identifying the precise schedule, the timing of the positive reinforcement in your past relationships be the most effective way to neutralize that memory and finally truly break the addictive cycle? Think about that precise moment of relief, and maybe that's how you take the power back.